Nalyssa Smith is gone. If you're the Fever, how great do you feel about that?
Did you see what the Indiana Fever just did? They traded Nalyssa Smith and the 8th pick to Dallas for Sophie Cunningham and the 19th pick. It might seem like a rough deal, but there's more to it.
Oh, the Indiana Fever just traded Nalyssa Smith and they got Sophie Cunningham. They just got Sophie Cunningham. They signed Sophie Cunningham. I thought this was never going to happen because, you know, Sophie Cunningham works so much with the Phoenix Suns that, she would be there.
Fever are building a powerhouse with Caitlin Clark, Aliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Natasha Howard, and now Sophie Cunningham. This trade could be a game changer in WNBA history.
I do have to say, Sophie Cunningham is a very, very, very interesting one for Indiana. Like, they are very, it's a very interesting one. And it's also got Satou Sabally to Phoenix, not New York, which is crazy.
Did you see what just happened in the WNBA? The Indiana Fever traded Aliyah Boston and the 8th pick to Dallas for Sophie Cunningham and the 19th pick. It might seem like a bad deal, but here's why it's more interesting than it looked.
The Fever had been linked to Sabally by rumors and chatter. Turns out they don't trade for Sabally, but they're a part of the Satou Sabally trade, as Indiana sends the number 8 pick to Dallas as part of this deal, but gets Sophie Cunningham in return, a sharpshooter from Phoenix, a tough player as well. So in the same day as they get Natasha Howard, they get Sophie Cunningham, possibly adding 2 starters while also bringing Kelsey Mitchell back, and in year 2 of Caitlin.
The Fever aren't just making a trade, they're thinking ahead. Sophie Cunningham is a tough defender and sharpshooter. In the 2024 season, she averaged 27 minutes per game, shooting 38% from 3 and 43% from the field. That kind of scoring ability can change a team.
And the way that Cunningham has consistently praised Caitlin Clark, so you know she's a fan of her game, and she's a fan of what she brings to the league, and she's also a seamless fit with the Fever. A seamless fit with the Fever. The way she plays. You know, Cunningham is last year averaged 27 minutes, shot 38% from 3, 43% from the field. You know, again, competes out on the floor.
Fever aren't just making a trade, they're strategizing for the future. Sophie Cunningham brings tough defense and shooting. In 2024, she averaged 27 minutes per game, hitting 38% from 3 and 43% from the field. That kind of scoring can transform a team.
Right, like, finally. I'm not trying to be mean to Nalyssa. It's just, I got frustrated watching her play, and she represented, I think, the remnants of anything else that was wrong with the team, right? From the Christie side era and everything. And last year was a good year, all things considered. Wish her the best.
You might wonder why the Fever traded Aliyah Boston and a high draft pick. One analyst said it's a solid return, especially given Boston's recent performance. The Fever aren't just thinking about next season. They're building for the future.
I actually think the Fever get great return here, considering I don't know where all these people think Nalyssa Smith's value was so high all of a sudden, given the way she played and everything else. But she goes to the Wings, gets a fresh start. Hopefully that works out for her. Arike Ogunbowale has already welcomed Nalyssa Smith there. So that's part of this trade also.
They didn't trade for Satou Sabally. Instead, they brought in Natasha Howard and 2 proven players ready to win now. The Fever are done waiting. They're here to dominate, and they've made it clear. Indiana is coming.
Still, forget that number 8 pick. Sophie Cunningham is going to be better than any rookie we could have ever got out the draft. We got Sophie Cunningham and Natasha Howard, and we got Nalyssa Smith, and they did not send Nalyssa Smith to Connecticut like everybody thought they was going to do.
Fever went from overlooked to title contenders with a few bold moves, and they're not done. With Cunningham and Howard as enforcers, they're ready to protect stars like Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston. No one's messing with.
They add the defense, rebounding, rim running with Howard. They add more shooting and tough. I mean, 2 tough players, feisty players. One player who's going to have Caitlin Clark's back, of course, in Cunningham. And you remember the All-Star game. there was this meeting. People thought she was recruiting her to the Mercury. Perhaps it was the other way around. Maybe it was the other way around all along.
You might wonder why the Fever traded a former top pick and the 8th pick for so little. Well, they've got a master plan that's about to shock the WNBA.
Fever are title contenders right now. That's the deal with this deal. Well, I mean, like, it's crazy to see the way that the Indiana front office has conducted its business here. I mean, they have been super duper busy.
Got Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston, 2 of the league's top young players. Clark averaged 8.4 assists per game in her rookie season, historic. Boston is a rebounding force and dominates the paint.
And Sophie Cunningham she is an enforcer type player with Natasha Howard. Nobody's messing with Caitlin Clark. You have got Natasha Howard and Sophie Cunningham on your team, and probably another vet. We all wanted the enforcer. No one is messing with Caitlin Clark. The Indiana Fever are going to probably be one of the they're going to be one of the top teams in the W next year, and they got significantly better.
Fever didn't stop there. They added Sophie Cunningham, a tough defender and sharpshooter, and Natasha Howard, a rebounding and rim protecting force, will make scoring in the paint tough.
You get these, a lot of moving parts here, because that's something a lot of people had anticipated and thought that the Fever were going to move on from Smith. And when Howard came in, it felt like, okay, Howard is taking her spot, and now Smith is no longer there to have a spot in the starting lineup or off the bench.
You might wonder how it all fits together. The Fever didn't just add talent, they added toughness. Cunningham and Howard will protect Caitlin Clark, making this lineup both skilled and intimidating.
Perhaps adds 2 starters in the process here. Maybe they're not even done. I thought the Howard move might have been the last major move for them, but maybe they're not done. Either way, I think, Lexi Hull might be coming off the bench now with Sophie Cunningham in tow. Or, either they get another wing player who can shoot and play D. That's huge.